There comes a moment in every life when the world presses hard against the chest, when answers delay themselves and the heart grows tired of waiting. In that moment, strength is not found in clenched fists, but in the courage to remain standing. Calm is not the absence of trouble, but the decision to breathe through it. And patience is not weakness, it is the quiet confidence that tomorrow is already learning your name. Today, we gather not to rush our becoming, but to honor it, to remember that being strong, being calm, and being patient is how the soul survives storms and still rises with grace. Strength is often mistaken for noise, for raised voices and pounding fists, for the dramatic display of power meant to convince the world that we are unbreakable. But real strength does not announce itself. It enters the room softly and sits with grace. It lives in the steady heart that keeps beating even when disappointment knocks too often. It is found in the person who chooses integrity over applause, who stands upright without needing to stand above others. There is a quiet bravery in waking up every day and choosing to continue, especially when life has offered more questions than answers. Strength is the mother who smiles through exhaustion, the dreamer who keeps working without witnesses, the soul who has been bruised by life but refuses to become bitter. It is not the absence of fear, but the willingness to move forward while fear walks beside you. Strength says, I am still here, even when the world has tried to teach you otherwise. True strength shows itself in restraint. It is the power to pause before reacting, to listen before speaking, to walk away when ego demands a fight. It takes courage to remain gentle in a harsh world, to respond with dignity when disrespect is offered freely. Anyone can shout. It takes strength to remain composed. Anyone can strike back. It takes strength to protect your peace. There will be moments when you are tested, when life invites you to abandon your values in exchange for convenience. In those moments, strength is choosing what is right over what is easy. It is holding your character intact when circumstances try to tear it away. Strength does not beg for validation, nor does it crumble under criticism. It knows its worth even when no one is clapping. Quiet strength also knows when to bend. It understands that survival is not always about standing tall, but sometimes about bowing without breaking. Like trees that endure the strongest storms, strength lies in flexibility, in knowing when to endure and when to rest. There is wisdom in conserving your energy, in choosing your battles, in protecting your spirit from unnecessary wounds. And perhaps the greatest proof of strength is the refusal to surrender your dignity. No matter how difficult the road becomes, no matter how unfair the treatment, strength says, I will not become what hurt me. It chooses grace over resentment and purpose over pain. It keeps its voice steady, its heart open, and its soul intact. So if today you feel unseen, unheard, or underestimated, remember this. Your quiet perseverance is powerful. Your calm endurance is courageous. Your steady steps forward, even when they are small, are acts of immense strength. You do not need to be loud to be strong. Your strength is already speaking, softly, firmly, and forever. Calm is often misunderstood as silence, as weakness, as the absence of feeling. But calm is not empty, it is full. It is the steady river beneath the surface, moving with purpose while chaos crashes above it. Calm is the strength that allows you to hear your own thoughts when the world insists on shouting its fears into your ears. It is not given by circumstances. It is chosen again and again, even when life offers every reason to panic. In a world that rushes, calm slows the heartbeat and reminds the soul that it is still safe to exist. It is the pause between the insult and the response, the breath before the decision, the quiet moment when you choose wisdom over impulse. Calm is self-respect in motion. It says, I will not let noise decide who I become. It is the refusal to be dragged into storms that are not yours to fight. There is courage in remaining calm when everything around you trembles. Anyone can react. It takes discipline to respond. Calm allows you to see clearly, to recognize what matters and what does not. When emotions rise like fire, calm becomes water, not to extinguish feeling, but to give it shape and direction. It turns confusion into clarity and fear into focus. Calm is also a form of protection. It guards your spirit from exhaustion and your mind from unnecessary battles. When you remain calm, you conserve your energy for what truly deserves it. You stop bleeding strength into arguments that lead nowhere and worries that solve nothing. Calm teaches you that not every moment requires your reaction, not every provocation deserves your attention. In calmness, you begin to hear truths that noise has hidden. You hear your intuition speak softly but clearly. You recognize your limits without shame and your power without arrogance. Calm creates space for healing because healing does not thrive in panic. It grows in stillness, in gentleness, in patience with your own becoming. There will be days when calm feels impossible, when the weight of expectations presses hard and the future feels uncertain. On those days, calm does not demand perfection. It simply asks you to breathe, to sit with the moment without judgment, to trust that clarity will return. Calm does not rush solutions. It allows them to arrive whole. And when you choose calm, you offer it to others without effort. Your presence becomes a shelter. Your words carry less harm. Your actions more intention. Calm spreads quietly, like light at dawn, changing the atmosphere without announcing itself. It reminds people that peace is possible even in difficult seasons. So hold on to your calm as you would a sacred flame. Protect it from those who thrive on chaos. Feed it with rest, reflection, and self-compassion. Let it guide your steps when the path feels unclear. Because in a world that shouts, your calm is not weakness. It is power, it is wisdom, and it is freedom. Patience is often treated as a pause, a waiting room where life forgets to call your name. But patience is not empty time, it is active faith. It is the quiet agreement you make with life that says, I trust the process even when I do not understand it. Patience is believing that time is not working against you, but for you, shaping, refining, and preparing what you cannot yet see. There are seasons when nothing seems to move, when effort feels unanswered and prayers feel suspended in air. In those moments, impatience whispers that you are being ignored or forgotten. But patience knows a deeper truth. It knows that roots grow in darkness before branches ever reach the sky. What is forming within you often matters more than what is forming around you. Patience allows that inner work to continue without interruption. To be patient is to resist the urge to rush your destiny. It is understanding that arriving too early can be just as harmful as arriving too late. Some doors open only when you are strong enough to walk through them without losing yourself. Patience keeps you from forcing outcomes that are not yet ready to hold you. It protects you from blessings that would overwhelm you before you are prepared to receive them. Patience also teaches humility. It reminds us that we are not in control of every timeline, every outcome, every unfolding. And within that surrender, there is peace. When you stop fighting time, you stop fighting yourself. You begin to live more fully in the present, finding meaning even in the waiting. Patience turns delay into development and silence into instruction. There is a quiet maturity that grows in patient hearts. You learn to respond rather than react, to endure without hardening, to hope without demanding proof. Patience does not mean you stop dreaming or striving. It means you move forward without desperation. It means you work diligently while trusting that results will arrive when they are meant to, not when anxiety demands them. Sometimes patience is staying when leaving would be easier. Sometimes it is leaving when staying would break you. Patience is not passive acceptance, it is wise discernment. It listens carefully to time, to intuition, to growth. It understands that not everything unfinished is a failure. Some things are simply still becoming. Patience teaches you how to carry disappointment without letting it poison your spirit. It allows you to grieve what did not happen while still making room for what will. In patience, you learn that endings are not punishments and delays are not denials. They are redirections, refinements, and preparations in disguise. And when what you have waited for finally arrives, patience ensures you receive it with gratitude rather than fear. You meet it whole, not desperate, not broken, not rushing to consume it before it disappears. You understand its value because you respected the time it took to reach you. So trust time, even when it feels slow. Trust the unfolding, even when the path curves unexpectedly. What is meant for you is not lost. It is not late. It is not confused about your address. It is arriving with purpose, shaped by patience, delivered whole, just as you are becoming. Rest is not an apology you owe to the world, nor is it a confession of weakness. It is a return to yourself. In a culture that glorifies exhaustion and calls it ambition, choosing rest becomes a quiet act of courage. Rest is not the end of effort. It is the space where effort learns how to breathe. It is the moment when you stop measuring your worth by how much you have endured and start honoring how deeply you feel. There are days when the body speaks before the mind is ready to listen. It speaks through heaviness, through weariness, through a silence that asks to be respected. Ignoring that voice does not make you stronger. It only makes you smaller inside. Rest is the language of self-awareness. It says, I know my limits and I honor them. That awareness is not weakness. It is wisdom earned through living. Rest allows the soul to gather its scattered pieces. Life pulls us in many directions, demanding attention, performance, resilience. Over time, we begin to give more than we replenish. Rest is how you call yourself back home. It is how you remember who you are beneath responsibility and expectation. Like a poem before its final line, rest brings meaning to everything that came before it. When you rest, you are not abandoning your dreams, you are protecting them. A tired spirit begins to confuse survival with success, motion with purpose. Rest clears that confusion. It reminds you why you started, what matters, and what no longer deserves your energy. From rest, intention is reborn. From rest, direction becomes clearer. There is a false belief that says stopping means falling behind. But rest does not erase progress, it preserves it. Growth does not happen only in movement. It happens in stillness, in reflection, in the quiet spaces where lessons settle into understanding. Even the earth rests between seasons, and in that pause, it prepares to bloom again. Rest also softens the heart. When you are constantly tired, compassion becomes heavy, patience wears thin, and joy feels distant. Rest restores gentleness. It allows you to meet others without resentment and yourself without harsh judgment. It teaches you that you do not have to earn rest through suffering. You deserve it simply because you are human. Sometimes rest looks like sleep, sometimes like silence, sometimes like stepping away from what drains you. Sometimes it is doing nothing without guilt. Sometimes it is saying no when you have always said yes. Rest takes many forms, but its purpose is the same, to keep you whole. And when you rise from rest, you do not return weaker, you return clearer. Your voice steadies, your steps feel grounded, your spirit regains its rhythm. Rest does not slow your journey, it strengthens your stride. It reminds you that you are not here to burn out, but to endure with grace. So allow yourself to rest without explanation. Let it be sacred, not stolen. Let it be a promise you keep to yourself. Because rest is not quitting, it is gathering yourself, honoring your becoming, and preparing to meet life again with renewed strength, calm, and patience. Healing is not a straight road with clear signs and predictable turns. It curves, it pauses, it doubles back on itself, and sometimes it feels like you are standing still while the world keeps moving. There are days when you believe you have finally arrived at peace, only to be surprised by an old ache rising quietly within you. This does not mean you are failing. It means you are human, and healing honors humanity, not perfection. There is a lie that tells us healing should be quick, clean, and visible, that once you decide to be better, the pain should politely step aside. But healing is more honest than that. It asks you to sit with what hurts, to listen without rushing to fix, to allow wounds the time they need to close. Some scars form slowly, and some lessons insist on repeating themselves until they are fully understood. Sometimes healing looks like progress, and sometimes it looks like rest. Sometimes it feels like joy returning unexpectedly, and sometimes it feels like grief revisiting without warning. You may walk forward for months and then feel pulled backward by a single memory, a single moment, a familiar pain. That step back does not erase the steps you have already taken. It is part of the path, not a detour away from it. Healing teaches patience in ways nothing else can. It reminds you that growth is not measured by speed, but by depth. You are not meant to rush through your pain just to prove your strength. You are meant to understand it, to learn from it, to allow it to shape you without defining you. Healing is not about becoming who you were before the hurt. It is about becoming someone wiser because of it. There are moments when healing feels lonely, when no one else can see the quiet work you are doing inside. You may look fine on the outside while battles unfold within your chest. Healing does not always announce itself. It works quietly, stitching together broken places in silence. Even when you feel unchanged, something within you is softening, releasing, making space. Healing also requires compassion for yourself. There will be days when you are tired of being patient, tired of being strong, tired of trying. On those days, healing asks only that you be gentle, that you do not shame yourself for needing time, that you do not compare your journey to someone else's timeline. Your path is your own, and it deserves respect. As you heal, you may notice that your perspective shifts. What once felt unbearable becomes manageable. What once controlled you loosens its grip. You begin to respond instead of react. You breathe more deeply. You forgive more slowly, but more honestly. Healing does not remove every scar. It teaches you how to live without bleeding. And even when the road bends unexpectedly, even when it circles familiar ground, it is still leading you forward. Healing is happening in every moment you choose awareness over denial, kindness over cruelty, patience over pressure. Trust the journey, even when it does not look the way you imagined. You are not lost. You are healing, and that in itself is movement. Silence is often mistaken for emptiness, for absence, for something to be avoided. We fill our days with noise because stillness makes us uncomfortable. Yet silence is not a void, it is a presence. It is the space where truth is not competing for attention, where the soul finally has room to speak. In silence, you are no longer performing for the world, and for a moment, you are simply allowed to be. When life grows loud with expectations, opinions, and demands, silence becomes a refuge. It pulls you away from the constant need to explain yourself, to defend your choices, to prove your worth. In silence, you are not required to respond. You are invited to listen. And what you hear there is often what noise has been trying to hide: your intuition, your clarity, your knowing. Silence teaches patience without words. It reminds you that not every question needs an immediate answer. Some truths arrive slowly, unfolding only when you stop chasing them. In stillness, wisdom does not rush. It waits until you are ready to receive it. Fear, which thrives on noise and urgency, begins to loosen its grip when silence enters. Without constant stimulation, fear has fewer places to hide. There is a quiet strength that grows in silence. You learn that you do not need to react to every provocation or explain every pause. Silence teaches restraint, and restraint teaches power. When you stop responding out of impulse, your actions gain intention. Your words carry weight because they are no longer wasted. Silence refines you. In moments of stillness, you begin to notice what truly matters. You hear the difference between what you want and what you were told to want. You recognize which voices guide you and which ones drain you. Silence becomes a mirror, reflecting not who you pretend to be, but who you are beneath the noise. That reflection can be uncomfortable, but it is honest. Silence also offers healing. It allows emotions to rise without judgment and pass without resistance. Grief softens when it is given quiet space. Anxiety eases when it is no longer fed by constant distraction. Silence does not erase pain, but it teaches you how to sit with it without being consumed. In that sitting, strength quietly grows. There are lessons that cannot be learned through advice or instruction. They can only be felt, only experienced, only understood when words step aside. Silence teaches you to trust yourself. It shows you that you already carry wisdom, even if you have forgotten how to hear it. The more time you spend in stillness, the more familiar your own voice becomes. And as silence becomes a companion rather than a stranger, you begin to move through life differently. You speak with purpose, you listen with depth, you choose your responses instead of being driven by reaction. Silence does not make you invisible, it makes you grounded. So do not fear the quiet moments. Welcome them. Let silence sit beside you and teach you what noise never could. In stillness, wisdom rises gently, fear releases its hold, and you remember who you are, steady, aware, and deeply alive. There is a quiet truth many people spend their lives searching for, often in the wrong places. You are already enough, not someday, not after you improve yourself, not after you prove your worth to those who doubt you, but now, as you are. Your presence does not need justification. It does not require perfection, productivity, or permission. Simply being here, breathing, existing with intention is reason enough. The world has a way of convincing us that we must earn our place by becoming more successful, more confident, more acceptable. We are taught to measure ourselves against standards that keep shifting just beyond reach. Over time, we begin to believe that our value is conditional, dependent on approval or achievement. But your presence was never meant to be negotiated. You were not created to audition for belonging. There is power in understanding that you do not need to shrink to make others comfortable, nor stretch yourself thin to be worthy of love. You do not need to explain your silence, your softness, or your pace. Your presence carries meaning even when you are quiet, even when you are unsure, even when you are still becoming. Existing fully does not require constant motion. It requires honesty. When you allow yourself to take up space without apology, something shifts within you. You begin to stand with a gentler spine, breathe with less resistance, speak with more truth. You stop asking, "Am I enough for this moment?" and start asking, "How can I honor myself here?" That shift is subtle, but it changes everything. It moves you from survival into dignity. There will be moments when the world does not acknowledge your worth, when your efforts go unnoticed and your intentions misunderstood. In those moments, remembering that your presence is enough becomes an anchor. You learn not to abandon yourself just because others fail to see you clearly. You learn that validation is comforting, but self-recognition is sustaining. Your presence also carries influence, even when you are unaware of it. The way you listen, the way you show patience, the way you remain kind in small moments, these are not insignificant acts. They ripple outward quietly. You do not have to be extraordinary to matter. You only have to be real. Authentic presence leaves a deeper mark than forced performance ever could. Accepting that you are enough does not mean you stop growing. It means you grow without self-rejection. You improve not because you are broken, but because you are alive. Growth rooted in self-respect is steady, patient, and lasting. It does not exhaust you, it strengthens you. So allow yourself to arrive fully in your own life. Sit in your presence without rushing away from it. Let go of the need to constantly prove, explain, or justify your existence. You belong here, not because of what you do, but because of who you are. Your presence is not an accident. It is intentional, meaningful, and complete. And that, on its own, is enough.